So hello guys, I think you can see my screen, and today I'm going to summarize you all about what is shell, what are the different configurations of shell, what is shell environment, why it is very much important, and the key concept that we are going to cover in this entire playlist in this part. So that is going to be the overview of our syllabus for today. Today we are going to cover what is shell environment, why it is important, key concept that we are going to cover in this entire series, practical impact, and some basic command that we are going to practice in the shell. So let's get started. I will start with the definition about what is shell. So many times people get confused about, like, when they see this thing, this is the terminal window, and this is just like an interaction that can happen between different like it is this terminal window is being used to interact with our computer. We provide some commands, and these commands are going to tell our hardware as well as software how to behave as per our requirements. So this acts as a middleman who is connecting the user with the computer. So this is the definition of terminal. Now what is shell environment? The key definition of shell is like it is a collection of settings, variable and aliases and configuration that defines the context in which a program runs, and it influences how programs are executed and where they are located. So we are going to cover it, we are going to visualize it, the entire definition, and we are going to see it in a very detailed manner. All right. And the second question that comes in our mind is, why is it important? So like the definition says, controls where the programs are stored and how they are found, example via the path variable. So there are different environment variable that our operating system provides to interact with the operating system, and one of those environment variable is the path variable. Like path variable looks for where the executable files are, like where are so suppose we want to just say that if I open my terminal and I am looking for something like ls, and I type ls, and it is going to list all the directories in my home folder. But how it is finding this ls, where this ls is stored? So this comes under the path variable. There is a variable that is defined, it is an environment variable path, and whenever we type ls, our operating system check the path variable, see whether this file is located, and then it prints the specific command that is associated with this ls. All right. Now key concept that we are going to cover in this topic is about environment variable, how the OS provides them and how to set and access them in bash, the path variable that determines whether the shell looks for executable programs, and like persistent changes, how we can modify the shell environment in the bash rc or bash profiles. We are going to know about it a little bit later, that what is bash rc and what is bash profile. And we are also going to create some aliases, like the aliases are just a definition of short-term definition of shortcuts. Instead of writing the whole command, we are going to write it in a very short manner. Whenever we type that command, it is going to execute the entire command that has been denoted by the short symbol or short command. And if the we are also saying that practical impacts, like if a program isn't found, then you need to may adjust its path or use its full path to make it executable. Understanding this will help us in debugging installation issues. Like many times when we install a software and we try to run it in the terminal or in a shell, that can be bash or any other shell, PowerShell, like in Windows, the default shell. So we can see that many times it hasn't been added to the system's environment variable, the system's path variable, but our program, what it do is it searches for that program in that file, and if it doesn't find, we get an error, that file not found, in the terms of terminal language. So example, we are going to say the path, we are going to add something to a path We are also going to see the configurations files that runs for interactive shells. We are going to see about interacting login shell, interactive non-login shell, all kinds of shell that are available in a Linux environment. And we are going to see how bash profile and what is bash profile, what is this profiles. We are going to get to know about these files in a very much detailed manner. So let's get started. I think many of my words you are getting is not really very much understandable, but we are going to learn exact the key definitions that I have discussed with you in a very much detailed manner. So at first let's start with what is shell and why it is important. So the first thing is that the shell is the outer layer of operating system that acts as an interface between user and the OS kernel hardware. So the outer layer means that whenever a user try to interact with an operating system, it used to tell that outer layer that, hey, I want to touch you, these are some commands that I think that I want to do it, and now you have to perform it by using the OS kernel or the hardware or the software that we are having in our operating system. Suppose the basic definition, the thing that you have to think about in your mind is it is a middleman. Shell is a middleman that acts as a middleman between the operating system which does the work as well as users who wants the work to be done. User passes some instruction, shell acts as a middleman and then tells that hardware or software that the user want to do this thing and we are going to do this thing via the specific commands. So shell accepts user commands, translates them for the system and displays the results. So there are different types of shell. We are going to see the broader definition of shell. There is graphical user interface like GNOME or KDE. That this is a GNOME environment that you can see this task manager is a GNOME file, but we are also having the KDE Plasma that comes at the time when we are installing an operating system. Currently I'm in the Kali Linux, so I have choose at that time that I want to go with the GNOME graphical user interface. There is also web-based interface like a web server that is responsible to HTTP request, and there is command line just like bash and ZSH. We are going to see this terminal that we are having is a ZSH terminal. This is the newer one. The older one was bash. You can see there is a lot of colors and lots of help like auto completion is there in ZSH. So it's a modern terminal as compared to the bash. Now you have understood about the definition of shell, what kinds of shell we are having, the graphical user interface, GUI that is GNOME and KDE, the web interface like web server responding to HTTP request. Whenever we send HTTP request, there is a shell that manages the web and it responds to that HTTP request that is sent by the user. And there is also command line interface CLI bash or ZSH that is used to interact between the operating system via a user command. Now let's see the common and narrow definition of the command line shell. So we are going to first look at this command line shell. This web interfaces and the graphical user interfaces is not the part of our syllabus, just we are going to discuss about the command line shell. We are going to see how to interact with web server via HTTP request in the later part of the course. So common definition of the command line shell is like it is specifically refers to a text-based command line interface where a user types something and it understand what it has got as the input and then it used to communicate with the operating system. Now there are it allows a user to interact with the system by typing the command ls cd grep. There are different commands that has been listed here, ls cd and grep. Ls is the list command, the cd is the change directory command, and the grep is used to look for a particular file that we are going to see it a bit later. Now these are essential for servers that are headless systems with no graphical user interface. A lot of web servers have no graphical user interface, so if you want to become a system administrator, then the very much familiarity to shell is definitely going to help you in a lot in your future. It helps in automation and scripting, and it helps us in advanced system administration. So okay, now we talk about the Linux shell, that is a terminal environment. In this course, shell means the terminal environment. Bash running inside a terminal emulator like a genome terminal. Like you see, this GNOME terminal is also like at the backend. If I talk about the backend, there is custom shell commands that has been executed when you interact with system via left and right and like that. So at the backend, there is some shell command that is being executed, but you are seeing the GUI interface, not the backend part. Alright, so everything in a system is managed by the shell command line. Every code, it has been very much easier for us if we don't have to remember and write every command to do a particular thing. That will be very much not user friendly. So user friendliness is the first part that we are going to have in order to our operating system to get succeeded in the market. So that's why the demand of GUI based operating system has been increased as compared to the CLI part. But most of the developers are very big, likes the CLI part, not the GUI part. But the regular Windows user, they are very much they feel good when they see the GUI based interaction. And why this matter? The shell is the primary way to control Linux system efficiently. Understanding the difference between the graphical user interface shell, user friendly but limited for automation. This is the one of the things that we should keep in mind. It has a limited automation. The GUI shells has a very much limited automation, whereas the CLI shell is powerful, it is scriptable, and it is very much essential for those who want to become a successful system administrator. Now, the entire summary is that shell as a general is the definition of the general definition of shell is like any operating system interface via a GUI, CLI or web that interacts, that take inputs from the user and provide some output. The shell common usage is like command line interface, bash, ZS, etc. in the Linux Linux environment. The terminal is the application that runs the shell, like GNOME terminal, Xterm is there, and the console is the physical and text mode terminal, example TTY1. So we are going to see about, we are also going to see this console. You are not going to get very much confused like console, what is console. We are going to play with console too in this series of our playlist. Now let's move to the next part. Let's say that let's just let's go to our terminal and do some practice about the shell command. So if I type clear, then it is going to remove everything that has been existed, like that has been present in our system, or we are going to practice some of the commands. So like if I am in my home directory, if I click on ls, you can see there is a lot of files there. The files that are being marked in bright blue color are the files, and those who are in white color with no color present, these are the text files, like files and folders are there. I'm sorry, the blue color and the blue theme that you are seeing, these are the folders, as well as the white thing that you are seeing in your screen, like demo2.txt and testing.txt. These are the files, text files. So yeah, Linux understand how to present the folders in color format as well as files in the default black and white format, so that user can understand it very much clearly. Now, so I think this is going to be the end of this video, and in the next part we are going to practice with some of the commands that we are going to see how to interact with environment variables, what are environment variables, what is path variable, how to set up an environment variable, how to delete an environment variable, how to modify an environment variable, what is path variable, how we can make this path variable as permanent, why at every close session of our terminal the path variable resets, what is this TTY terminal, what is the normal terminal, what is bash, what is ZS. We are going to see everything in the next part of our video. So we are going to end it here. Thank you very much for being with us.